In today's video, we're going to be drawing a traditional style raven. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm Daggett, this is Daggett Designs, and like I said, in today's video we're going to be drawing a traditional style raven or crow design. It can sort of be either, they're very similar looking birds. They're different sizes and have a few different features, but they're very, very similar looking, so this can sort of cover both of those. But we're going to be doing this primarily in black work, so we're using a lot of black shading for this one. We might put a few touches of color in there, and we're going to put together a trad style design using this subject matter. So without further ado, let's go to the overhead. Okay, welcome back to the table. So like I said, in today's video, we're covering a traditional style crow or raven. I've got a piece of A4 sketch paper that I've just folded in half. We're going to do this in A5 size. We're doing this as a trad style piece of flash, so I'm going to do it a little bit smaller than you would necessarily do maybe like Japanese stuff, as though you could incorporate this into like a larger flash sheet. I've also got a mechanical pencil and an eraser in case we make any mistakes. Alright, so to start this one off, we're going to start with a little oval. Just like that. And then just underneath our oval, we're going to come down like this to a bit of a peak, and then back up and around like that. So it's almost like a big upside down teardrop shape. Now you're going to draw a curved line from the back of your oval around to the front. It's going to be in the top sort of half of that oval, and a smaller circle or oval towards the front of that line that we just drew. Underneath this, you're going to come down about 0.5 centimeter, and you're going to draw another curved line that's going to angle up slightly to the tip of this line. Just like that. Now these are just laying out the foundation, so we're going to go ahead and lay the foundations out for the rest of it. We're just coming up from the bottom here, and we're doing this same shape that we did, this teardrop shape, on a slightly different angle and a little bit lower, just coming around and back to a peak. Like that. And coming from the other side of this line here, out and down. Just a curved line around like that. At the very bottom of our peak here, we're coming down to a bit of a point, rounding that off a little bit as we come back up, and coming back in for the tail. To draw in the little section for our claws, we'll drop a line down like this with a little ball. We'll bring a line up and over another little ball there at the end. We'll do a line that dips in and at the end turns into a ball. This one will dip in and into a ball shape, and this one will dip back like this and into a little ball shape. Just underneath all of this, you can bring a straight line out or a slightly curved line out with a little ball on the end of it. Drop in and around for another little claw, another little one, and back. Just like that. You'll notice this is very, very similar to drawing eagle claws when we did our eagle video a couple of weeks back. And that's because they're both birds that have claws, so they're going to be pretty similar. But I sort of use this technique to draw claws for all sorts of creatures. If I'm doing dragons or birds or something like that, I sort of use this method for a lot of those different claws and claw shapes. Alright, so coming into the face a little bit more for some more detail, we're going to come in from the bottom here. We're going to curve under a little bit. I had trouble getting my words out there. We're going to curve under a little bit and then curve over. And coming around the back of this, we're going to add this little curved line like that, and then come up and over, just like that. That will give us the top of our beak shape. To do the bottom, we're going to curve down, same as we did the top, slightly up and out. And following this line around the bottom, we'll come around the bottom of the beak and around and back to join into the rest of our beak there. Coming down from just underneath this with a curved line like that. And then following this sort of oval shape that we did at the start, we'll just bring that around the bottom for a bit of a cheek. From above the beak, we'll bring a little curve back towards the eye. And then coming off that, we're going to bring a line that goes straight down and into the back. Now from where we did this little cheek section here, you're just going to drop a curved line that joins into the top of our wing. And I like to do these little curved lines also. Okay, now in terms of putting a little bit of a background on this one, we're just going to bring down a rough line like this. And we'll loop it back up to our claw here. Like this. And we're just doing really rough lines for this because we are doing like a tree branch. Okay, so the lines can be super rough and jaggedy and they don't have to be smooth at all. Around the bottom here, and I'll finish this off just by doing a couple of curves to cut the end of our tree branch off there. And we're going to follow that through to the other side, where they will somewhat cut off at the top as well, using a similar method. Just rounding the top parts off. From here I'm going to drop in a couple of indications for where I want some flowers. So I'll drop a little circle in at the back here. And I'll drop in some basic general leafy shapes for some leaves, like that. And I might even have him holding a flower. So we're going to bring a stem through his mouth, like that. I'll split that off into 3 leaf shapes, like so. And drop a little circle shape on the inside of that, which was where our flower will go. And then you can go ahead and add some leaf shapes to the stem of your flower. Bring that curve back and around. Maybe add a little loop-de-loop on the end of it. Add a little branch off like this and come forward. And I'm not too happy with how thick this back portion is, so I'm just going to come in with my eraser. That's why we have it. I'm just going to come in and thin that out a little bit. Okay, from here we're going in and adding some of the details. So coming into the face here to do our eye. I'm going to give the eye a little bit more of this sort of an almond shape like that. And I like to double up on the outer line there. So just putting a smaller shape on the inside of that or on the outside of that. And then I'll do a little circle in the center with a pupil, like so. Following this cheek shape around, I'll flip the page a little bit. I'll do these little lines that are going to be like individual little feathers or little bits of fluff. And then coming around from the back, whoops, I'll do the same thing coming up to the back of our eye there. Coming into the top portion of our back here, just putting in these little sort of long scale shapes. A little bit pointy on the ends, and these are going to be like the back feathers of our bird. To do the feathers on the wings, we're actually going to use a koi fish scale method that I taught in the last tutorial. So just coming across this way, and then the other way will give you these diamonds. And then you go ahead and fill in those diamonds to give you scales, or in this case to give you feathers. With some of these old school traditional designs, scales and feathers are pretty much drawn the same. Slight variations on their shape and definitely, variations on how you color them, but they are drawn very similarly. Coming in underneath this, you're going to drop a line down, curving it up, drop another one a little bit further, curving it up, a little bit further, curving it up. And then you're going to bring them back the opposite way. You're going to come up a little bit till you get to the very end. With these particular feathers, I'm going to double up on them just by adding an inner line. For the very bottom feathers, we're going to do pretty much the same thing. Just layering in some feathers the same way we did the above ones, but we're not doubling up on these ones. For the wing that's showing at the back, you want to mirror some of these details, but of course you're only seeing a very small amount. So you can add in the start of some scale patterns, a doubled up feather, and the bottom one of course will just be left as is. Okay, to do your tail is very simple. You're going to round the bottom sort of peak off that we did. And you're going to bring two straight lines up from that curve line that we just did. And then you're going to bring a line back slightly and straight up, and back slightly and straight up. So there's a little bit of a step to each of these, and you can make these more rounded at the bottom as well, just by cutting the corners off, like that, and just rounding them out. Okay, for a little bit of detail above our claws here, I'm going to go ahead and just throw in these little curve lines. And these are going to be those little soft sort of fluffy feathers on the belly area of our bird. So I'll do some of those for that top claw. And then just underneath this, I'm going to do a few more of our little flicky lines to indicate even sort of softer areas of feathering just underneath the tail there. For our claws, you're going to do a very similar thing to what we do with the eagle claws. You're going to follow your top line up nice and smooth and around. Dip in and come around to the outside to do your little ball. And then a little wavy W to connect back up. Some more little lumpy shapes like that to connect up to the next toe. The one behind it, you dip in, come around and connect it up using those little wavy lines. And then to do your talons, they're just long curved peaks. They're quite simple and you can play around with the shapes a little bit. To do the back toe, you just trace your line down and around. Throw your talon in at this point. Drop a circle behind it and a little wavy line to join that back up into the foot. And then to join the actual leg back up to the bird, we're just going to come with this sort of wavering line that comes all the way back. And then just to texture this a little bit, you can do lines on top of your claws. And this is just to show like a rough scaly sort of texture on top of the claws. To do our flowers is pretty simple. I'm leaving the leaves as they are. I'm coming up from the base of my flower to do like a really elongated love heart shape. So just a little bump in the top there. Coming in from the side with a curved one, another curved one from the other side like that. And then we'll do some bumps across the top and a curved line around the top like that. You can of course add more or less petals, add whatever details you like, or even add a different style of flower entirely, it's up to you. And that's basically how we sketch out a traditional style crow design. I'm going to go ahead and transfer this to watercolor paper so that it's ready for painting, and we will get to that now. Alright, I've gone ahead and transferred our design over to watercolor paper. This is Fabriano 300 GSM cold press watercolor paper. I've gone ahead and filled up my palette, so I'm using Carbon Black from our Liquitex acrylic ink range. I've also got an orange yellow and a Pyrrole red, and I've already put those in our palette. Got a couple of different brushes. I've got my inking brush for applying the inks and my blending brush, which holds a little bit more water for blending out the colors. And of course I've got a glass of water for washing my brushes out and a little bit for blending. Okay, this one starts off by shading in the sort of darkest areas of our bird. So we're going to go ahead and come into underneath the beak here. And you can come in with solid black from that edge all the way around to the back of the beak. And then I would take my blending brush and feather that edge along the bottom where we've done those soft feathers, and just bring a nice grey out and into those soft feather areas. Coming into the next area of black just underneath our eye here. Again, solid black around the back of our beak, like this. And then with your blending brush, feathering out the black to a grey and just blending it into our soft feather areas there. We're going to come in from the top of the head. That little part on top of the nose there just goes solid black with a little white lip on the top edge of it. And then coming back from there, we're doing solid black on top of the head, but I'm just leaving a little white edge along the topmost edge of the head, above the eye. And once we reach our back feathers here, you're just going to put in black onto the feathers, similar to how you would paint scales, just leaving that little white border around the edges of the feathers. And while you're at it, you may as well do the rest of the back feathers in the same manner. To paint the sort of neck feathers here, I'm going to rotate the page a little bit just to get a better angle. Come in from the front with solid black, just coming around our soft feathers and over the top of our wing there. And then taking a blending brush and just blending that back to a grey over the top of our sort of feathers on the neck there. For the inside of our beak, we're just coming in with black from the sort of back of the mouth there. Blending that forward to a lighter shade, and do the front very sort of tip of our beak. And blend that back across and down our beak. And a little bit from this back bottom edge, and just blending it forward. Painting in the top of your wings will be the same as doing the back feathers. Just going to come across and leave a little white border around each of the feathers. And if you make a mistake like I just did before, you can go ahead, wait for it to dry, and then either use a white gel pen to correct it. And if that won't cover it up, you can go ahead and take a small pocket knife and scratch that off. That was one of the little tips and tricks I taught you guys in an earlier video. Alright, once you've done your black shading on the top of the wings and the back there, those small sort of scale feathers, we can come in and do the second layer of feathers by going to the inside layer that we drew with a bit of black and just blending that down to like a dark grey. We're not trying to go to white here. And just doing that for each inside portion of each feather. Now coming into the layer of feathers just underneath this, just coming off the back edge with a little bit of black and blending that forward gently, just feather that edge and blend forward to a white. Get to the next feather, a little bit of black on the left edge there. Feather that out and blend it forward. You're going to do a similar thing for your tail feathers, except you're going to come in on the left side of this feather here, like this, and then you're going to feather that off to this edge over here, just blending it out. When it comes to doing the other side of the tail, you're going to flip your page around and you're going to mirror this by going to the inner edge with your black and feathering that edge out. So you're just doing the exact same thing, but you're mirroring it on the other side. For the center feather on the tail, I'm just coming in from the top with a bit of black, leaving a little white gap on either side. And I'll probably bring that down about halfway. And then with the blending brush, I just blend that down. I'm also going to come in just underneath our bird here, this little soft bit of feathering. A bit of water, just blend that out to a grey. And same thing for these soft feathers over here. Just a tiny, tiny bit of black that we can blend out to a nice soft grey for these sort of fluffy feather areas under here. To do a bit of shading on your claws, you can just come in on the top edge with a bit of black. I like to leave that little white gap across the top. And then just taking some water and blending that forward and down. This gives us some nice black shading across our claw there. You can do that for the other one as well if you'd like. Just coming in a little bit. And forward and down. Alright, just coming in to do our flower stem here. We'll come onto our leaves with a bit of black. And just blend that forward. Like I said, this is primarily a black work design, so I'm not going to be using green in our leaves or stem. I just want to do them nice, sort of solid black with some gradients. We're using a little bit of color in this one, but like I said, I want to keep it nice and simple. Okay, once the black shading in the leaves has been done, I want to go ahead and do a little bit in the tree. Not too much. I'm basically going to come in from the ends with solid black, the ends of any limbs and branches. And then just gently blend that back using some water to a grey. We're pretty much just doing a grey toned tree in the background, just shaded. We're just coming down from the top here with black. Get a bit of water. I'll come in a little bit from underneath the claw. This will help the claw sort of stand out a little bit more. Help it jump forward a little bit. And blend that back. Once you've done your branches, that's sort of solid black and just shaded to a grey, that's it for the black shading for this one. So this is a really nice black and grey design as it is in a sort of traditional style. I think it looks fantastic. I want to add just a little bit of colour to it to make things pop and stand out. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. So first up, we're taking a little bit of our yellow orange. And we're going to come in and paint over our eye. This will help the eye sort of stand out really nicely. And you can go ahead and pick other details you'd like to paint in yellow. I think I'm going to do the center of our flowers yellow. Just like that. Just solid yellow for the center of the flowers. This is a traditional style design. And like I said, it's a fairly simple sort of black work design. I don't want to add too much detail in the color. Now you could of course do some pattern work on the body in color. I think in this case I want to do the claws with a little bit of yellow. So I'm just going to come over the top of my black shading there and bring a little bit of yellow out into the claws. I think that looks really cool. Now I think crows and ravens, their claws are normally just plain black. But you know, this is Tattoo Flash. We're going to go ahead and stylize things to our liking and add our own personal flavor to them and make them look cool. Alright, last couple of things we're going to do is take a bit of our Pyrrole Red, load our brush up with that, and we're going to go ahead and paint our flowers in. There's no shading or blending on these, the way I'm doing them today. We're just bringing that red up and around, following our petal shapes, and making sure to leave a little white gap around the edges. And very last thing, I just want to take a little bit of that red and do this little ring around his eye. As you can see, once we've added our colors in, it gives the design a completely different look. So depending on how you want this to look, you'll have to decide on whether you're adding color or just leaving it as a black and gray design. That is it for today's video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something. I think our traditional crow or raven design came out really nice. I think it's got some fantastic popping colors that contrast really well with our black work shading. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment in the comment section down below letting me know what you'd like to see in future videos and what you thought of today's video. If you'd like to follow my online portfolio, head over to Facebook or Instagram, or preferably both of them, and give me a follow over at Daggett Designs. Here you can see my online portfolio, and I'll be posting some behind the scenes stuff and any updates to my channel that you guys need to know about. For members, the sketch for this one, I've got 2 different layered sketches will be uploaded to the class notes section of your YouTube memberships. And with that having been said, if you're new to my channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you never miss new videos when they come out. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Keep drawing. Bye.